Day in Canada.
Let's go! Let's go! Ah, Bonspiel, baby!
'Cause it only gets better.
This is what the day is about. And the curlers behind us, the roaring game by the Roaring Falls.
'Cause it only gets better.
We say hello, Canada. Come on, come on! Oh, goodness! Unbelievable!
Welcome to Curling Day in Canada with curlers across the country celebrating the sport. And for the first time, we are hosting a Curling Day in Canada festival in beautiful Banff, Alberta. As we say hello and welcome to Curling Day in Canada, I'm Lindsay Hamilton here in our Toronto studio, while my co-host, Canadian Curling Hall of Famer Bob Weeks, gets to spend his curling day in beautiful Banff, Alberta. Bob, you look a little chilly, but otherwise, I have to say, I'm a little bit jealous that that's your background.
Well, I don't want to rub it in on you, Lindsay, but I got to tell you, this is an absolutely incredible day we've had here. It's the first Curling Day in Canada festival. The downtown is packed. There's some local entertainers here and some great activities. And in the heart of it all is our very own Solemn Balji.
All day long, we've had great crowds. The music is playing, and there's so much going on. There's curling video games, street curling, croca curl. There's even the Briar Tankard right behind me, and curling Olympians in our presence. The Banff Curling Club is such a beautiful facility, and organizers are so proud to be hosting the first ever Curling Day in Canada festival.
Curling in and of itself is such an amazing part of the fabric of smaller towns and of rural communities. And I think here in Banff, that's exactly what it was. There was a great tradition of curling that's been able to be maintained. And even up to today in this club, we've got some amazing old photos that show when they used to curl out on the rivers here. And they would drag a hut out and stick it on the ice. And that's how they would curl. And that's where the clubhouse was. All the way up to today, where you see this modern, beautiful facility looking out at the mountains. So I just think it's an important part of the small towns and in the rural communities. And I'm just so happy that it's part of this town, even though it's a big international destination.
The live stream game between us and Okotoks, really fun. First time, we think, potentially. We had Rocky Mountain Adaptive here, so that was good as well. And we're doing drop-in free drop-in classes for anyone who wants to join and throw a few rocks and learn the basics of curling. And on top of that, we're playing Banff versus Canmore throughout the day, so a little fun tournament between the two towns there.
We had the Okotoks Curling Club with the team at their facility, and we had a team here at the Banff facility. And using live stream technology, we were able to have the two teams play against each other. We had audio from both rinks, we had video from both rinks, and we were able to actually play a competition. And we're so excited for it because I think it opens lots of opportunities for others to use. We can have leagues between facilities, skill competitions, you name it. So just a fun, great event and something that's never been done in the world. And now we can say it has been, and we hope other clubs can take this idea and make it even bigger, better, and brighter into the future.
I love it. Curlers of all ages getting involved. Bob, it seems like quite the party.
It has been a big blast here. Lots of people enjoying themselves, learning how to curl, veterans. We've got all sorts of big champions here. It's been a really, really entertaining day.
Oh my goodness, and that background behind you is absolutely stunning. Well, Bob, we'll get back to you in just a short bit. Meanwhile, we're seeing curlers from across the country who've also joined in on the celebrations today. And I love that everyone's getting social. We've seen a lot of people posting their Curling Day in Canada experiences on social media. Look at all these curling clubs getting involved. They're using the hashtag Curling Day in Canada, and we'll be sharing some of these throughout the hour, so be sure to stay tuned and use that hashtag. Well, over the next hour, we will also share some truly inspirational stories, including the introduction of curling to individuals from different races, nationalities, and backgrounds. Across the country, there have been programs created to increase diversity and inclusion, such as the story of a university student in Kingston, Ontario, who is helping grow the game. Claire Hanna has more.
Well, I'm here in Kingston at the Cataraqui Golf and Country Club, and here on the pebbled ice, instead of putting up guards, they're trying to peel away barriers. And at the heart of it is Kamran Islam. At just 20 years of age, he won the Curling Canada All Hearts Junior Curler Award for introducing a Learn to Curl program, which really aims at getting racialized curlers, specifically adults, involved in the sport. And we caught up with them during one of their weekly sessions.
As a racialized individual myself, who's curled in Ontario basically my whole life, I'm well aware that curling, the demographic of curling is predominantly older white individuals, and racialized individuals are significantly underrepresented in the sport.
So it's really important that we slide out to the target, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today.
He's a great instructor. Like, his expertise and his know-how just shines through, and he's also a very confident instructor, which I guess encourages everyone to just kind of put themselves out there. And curling can be daunting, especially if you've never done it before. So yeah, he's great at that.
I think a big part of this will be what the participants do with it. So if the participants enjoy themselves, they have a good time, then I would hope that they spread the message with people in their social circles, with other racialized individuals, and you would hope that in coming years you'd see more and more racialized individuals participate in curling.
Getting the sport out there to more people is super important, and hopefully one day I'll be able to curl with my friends and family who have no clue about the sport. And I love it so far. I think a lot of people would like it if they just tried it, right?
I think a big part of having more representation and diversity and inclusion in curling clubs is actually focusing on the existing club itself, the existing members, staff, starting from the top, from the board, having them become more aware about equity, diversity, and inclusion, the importance, believing in it themselves, and then establishing sound training programs and awareness programs so that when racialized curlers do come into the space is a welcoming place and they're not going to be discriminated against.
Now, this Learn to Curl program that Kamran has started runs until the end of April, but his goal is to get other clubs across Canada involved and really try to open spaces for more racialized curlers across Canada.
Thank you, Claire, and terrific work from Kamran as he helps grow the game. And from beginners to pros, of course, the Scotties are taking place in Kamloops, British Columbia, with the first page playoff in the books. And for plenty more, let's hand it over to Vic Rauter and the crew.
Thank you very much. With Joanne Courtney, Russ Howard alongside. Yeah, it was a first playoff game. Very similar situation to what happened a year ago for Team Canada, having to try to come through that 3-4 page playoff. And they were going against a very, very exciting team from Dartmouth. Nova Scotia, skipped by Christina Black. As we take a look at the highlights, different kind of team Canada today. But what we've really admired so much about Christina Black, Joe, is this ability of her to make that clutch draw. Some skips would not relish the moment, but she does.
And yes, for Christina Black, when she has to place a draw in an exact position, she has done this half a dozen times in the last 24 hours. She squeaks the guard yet again with the perfect weight, forcing Team Canada to a really difficult shot.
You know, it's an interesting thing here. She got great brushing, great ice reading. Sometimes her first isn't the best, but her second is. And now it's 5-3 as we play here in 7. And that, of course, leaves Kerri Einarson that upweight shot, and she's so good at it.
And finally, Nova Scotia ran into somebody that could stop Christina Black. With this, threads the needle through the port. We knew she was a great hitter, but look at the angle that Val calls it. Right through the back one, redirects on her own, sticks it for the deuce.
And so that adds to her total as she looks to move on now to the semifinal. So we go to the 9th end, and Team Canada very much in control, as we say. Different team than the one that lost last night to Manitoba. Their shot making, their rock management, the brushing, all coming together. And there, bang, bang, and there's 2 more as they would go on to the win. So very similar to what they did last year in Thunder Bay, winning in the 3-4. So now they go to the semi. And coming up tonight, it is Manitoba against Northern Ontario. Last year's runner-up in Krista McCarville. Manitoba, Jennifer Jones, my goodness, here she goes. She takes this young team, Mackenzie Zacharias, all 20-somethings, and she's molded them into a very young Jones team.
Yeah, and I've been so impressed with their intensity, their confidence. It's just been outstanding, but this is their first ever Scotties playoff game. Are they ready?
True.
So now it's up against Krista McCarville, a team that, as we say, won the silver medal, and Krista's looking very, very comfortable.
Beat her the first time around. Can she do it again? Krista McMarvel, we've watched it for a long time. We keep writing them off because they don't play much during the year. They'll be ready. She makes a lot of shots. Jennifer's going to play awfully well to beat them.
And of course, the key is that the winner of tonight's game will go right through to that final tomorrow, and the loser will face Team Canada. That's when we join you again, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the 1-2 page playoff from here in Kamloops.
Thank you, Vic. We'll be watching, and it looks like you're all having a terrific time at the Scotties. And Bob, as we keep an eye on the action, we have to turn back to Team McCarville, who, as we know, are no strangers to the Scotties playoffs, are they?
They certainly aren't. Runners-up last year, and I love this team because, as Vic was saying out there, they don't really play competitively on the circuit. They all like their full-time jobs. Krista is a teacher, and I interviewed her for our curling show on TSN.ca, Rock Talk, and she was actually doing the interview from a cloakroom in the classroom, which I thought really showed just what her life is all about. She's balancing all sorts of things, but they come to the Scotties every year, and they're always there at the end.
From the cloakroom, that's commitment, isn't it?
It certainly is. And she.
All right, well, Bob, continue to stay warm. As we know, the party is just getting started here in Banff. We'll tell you plenty more about how the Banff Curling Club welcomes people from all walks of life, and we'll be joined by a very special guest.
What day is it today, guys?
Well, there are plenty of Curling Day in Canada contests currently going on, including people sharing their best curling stories. These photos are incredible. The winner will get a trip for four to the closing weekend at next year's Briar. You have until 11:59 Eastern tonight to vote for your favorite at curlingdayincanada.ca. And for now, let's send it back to Bob and Banff.
Here he is, John Morris, Olympic champion, world champion, Canadian champion. Did I miss any? Junior champion.
A couple juniors in there.
Welcome to Curling Day in Canada. This is kind of a neat atmosphere to be in for you. Have you had a good time so far today?
Yeah, I brought the family down. We're in beautiful Banff, Alberta, and just a lot of great curling vibes around here.
Now, you announced at the end of last year that you were going to retire from men's curling. You're still doing a little bit of mixed doubles, as I assume. Bring us up to date. What's the career?
Yeah, just dabbling in some mixed doubles, and I got two wonderful young kids that I'm pretty happy to be home with a lot more now, and they're just starting things like sports and music, and it's just kind of nice to be around the house more, because as a competitive curler, to keep up with these young bucks, you got to be on tour every weekend, and I'm just happy that I've got some more home life.
We were talking earlier about how much curling has meant to you, the love of the game, whether you're a world champion or Olympic champion or a first-timer beginner out there, and you were telling me about curling outdoors with at a junior bonspiel. Can you recount that story?
Yeah, this is one of my earliest memories I had. I was in Switzerland as a junior, and we played in an open-air bonspiel, and the whole town came out, and it was just a wonderful vibe. You had to huck the rock as hard as you could just to get it even close to down to the end of the rink, and coming out here today, and we've had some outdoor setups of the curling ice. It just brought back some great memories of some international junior curling.
What does curling mean to you now? You've had such a life in curling at all sorts of stages, but what does it mean to you right now?
You know what? I'm at the stage where I've what got me into curling at a young age and why I love the sport was just the camaraderie. You know, there's back in Ontario, there was a thing that after the game, you'd always sit down with the team and have a drink with them after, and that's how I grew up curling, with the likes of Eddie Wernick and Al Hackner, and then I got really competitive, and it was and I was very grateful for playing with great players like Kevin Cooey and Kevin Martin and some absolute great players, but now I kind of miss what got me back into the game, and I think as I move forward, I might play in a couple more beer league bonspiels with some good old friends, and just for the love of the game again. I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Well, thank you for sharing some time with us. Thank you for being a part of Curling Day in Canada here in Banff. I know you're just down the road here. You don't live too far away, so thanks for being part of this today.
Thanks a lot, Bob. Stay warm out there. It's going to be a chilly one.
Okay.
Both of you stay warm, but you got the toques on, so you're prepared. Now, this was really cool. For the first time ever, Two teams in different rinks played against each other at the same time using live stream technology. A team in Banff took on a team in Okotoks, Alberta. They're about a 2-hour drive apart, and after each rock was thrown in one rink, it was placed on the ice in the other rink. Isn't this neat? The entire game was played that way, with the team in Okotoks getting the victory in the inaugural virtual game. The future of curling. And as Curling Canada continues to grow the game, they held a symposium addressing issues of diversity and inclusion called Changing the Face of Curling. People had the opportunity to share stories and provide ideas on how to make the sport more welcoming for everyone.
For us, where Black girls are concerned with curling, we don't want to be the only. We want to be one of many because we want to establish that feeling of not just DEI, but actually inclusion, but more so belonging. We want to make sure that everyone who engages in the sport feels that you have a place here. You're not just being included, you belong here.
Curling Bonspiels at Trenton Curling Club is the most welcome I've ever felt. And it's because of how they dealt with my dietary restrictions. And, you know, I've been to other curling clubs where it's been a burden on them, and they make you aware that it's a burden on them. And it shouldn't really be a big deal. So that's like one, it's a little thing, but it's definitely a belonging thing.
We're either all gonna do the work or we're not, right? So if we don't get comfortable being uncomfortable, and we kind of always just want to like seek out that quiet place where it's like, I don't want to have to care about these things. Well, good for you, because I got news for you. I live at the intersection of being a woman, being Black, being gay, and being a curler. I have to care about multiple things at a time, and it's not always easy and fun, but it is possible.
We've got to change the system. My biggest goal as a tribal leader is changing the system. We don't have curling rinks. So how do we get to some of our people can't afford to travel to the big city to be getting trained every day and do this. We don't have proper coaches. We don't have proper facilities. We don't have proper equipment. Is that our fault? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but at the end of the day, how do we change the system to be really inclusive?
I never really got to see queer curlers growing up. It wasn't something that I saw. I found out probably when I was like 18 that John Epping was gay, and Heather Strong, and found out that these people were. And it was a wonderful feeling for me to know that someone there before is like myself. And when you see yourself in a space, you feel welcome in that space.
What I learned on that ice was that the ice doesn't discriminate, and the rocks don't discriminate, and the brooms don't discriminate. And my friends loved me enough to not hold it against me that I hadn't learned the game that they loved and had grown up in.
Terrific work from the symposium, and I love that quote, the ice doesn't discriminate. Meanwhile, as we've been showing you throughout the broadcast, curlers across our country are joining in on the celebration, sharing these wonderful moments. They're posting their Curling Day in Canada experiences on social media, and you can get involved in the conversation as well. Even the cats can curl today. A reminder for you, use the hashtag Curling Day in Canada. Oh, we've got 2 cats. We've got quite the bonspiel going on. Again, that is the hashtag Curling Day in Canada. Ooh, who's my money on? I think Fluffy Cat #1 might have that one in the bag. All right, coming up, we'll have the story of Indigenous students learning how to curl for the first time, and Kerri Einarson joins the show.
It's truly amazing to see that and to feel that love and that support.
In the spirit of respect and truth, it is important that everyone who lives here, who works here, and who visits Banff acknowledge that we are on lands that have been inhabited by Indigenous peoples for centuries. We are on the traditional Treaty 7 territory of the Niitsitapi, also known as the Blackfoot Confederacy, which is made up of the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani First Nations. Treaty 7 also recognizes the Nakota, which compromises the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nations. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. acknowledging the peoples of this land and our relationship with the peoples of this land, the animals and the nature around us, is important to the process of reconciliation. Together, we must honor the truth of the past. We must be mindful of the Indigenous perspectives in the present so that we can travel together in a future of peace, friendship, and shared opportunity.
That was a touching land acknowledgement at the Curling Day in Canada Festival in Banff, Alberta. And as the sport continues to grow from coast to coast, we also recently joined Indigenous students learning to curl from the Cultural Survivalist School, with the focus that curling is for everyone. The Rocks and Rings program has introduced the game of curling to over 2 million kids. Recently, they taught a group of students from an Indigenous school in Toronto.
Our school is called the Cultural Survivalist School, just to make sure that all of the cultures, traditions, and ceremony that were lost for so many years due to colonization are being brought back, enjoyed, and revered by all of our students.
Most of the students had never curled before. They had an off-ice training session in their school gym earlier in the week, then hit the ice.
I didn't really know what curling was, but when I was explaining what it was, I was like, oh, that sounds really fun. So I was pretty excited. I'm always excited to go on field trips.
I thought I was gonna follow my head or something, but turns out I'm actually pretty good on the ice.
This is my first time doing it on ice, so I thought it was really amazing how this sport, how many people just play, because I only ever seen people play curling in it was a Simpsons episode, so yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen curling. So this is a really new experience for me. I really like it.
The kids are enjoying it. They were super excited. I've been talking about it all week. It's that motivation that kind of just really spurs you on. That each time you're up, it's a new shot.
Programs like this have helped grow the game throughout Indigenous communities across Canada, spreading the message that curling is for everyone.
It was the introverts, the ones that don't think that they can excel in sport, that were actually dropping the mic on every one of those students. It was absolutely an incredible experience, probably one of the best teaching days of my life.
Those kids are picking up sport quickly. Well done. And from those just learning the sport to seasoned veterans, Kerri Einarson is going for the four-peat at the Scotties. But her greatest achievement of all is perhaps being a role model for Indigenous athletes. She helps change the game. And Kerri Einarson recently sat down with Bob Weeks for an important conversation.
And here is Kerri Einarson to talk a little bit about the Indigenous community and curling. And you are Indigenous, you are a Métis, and you are also, as I say, like a champion curler. And I'm going to load this question up for you, but from your unique standpoint, do you see curling as an inclusive sport?
I do, and I think it's I do, and then I think it's getting there. And I know for myself, everyone of any kind of race is welcome, and I've seen it. But a lot of people don't feel that way either, right? So, but for myself, I think it is, and it's heading in the right direction.
Do you hear from people when you're at the Scotties, when you're at playdowns, when you're at Grand Slams? Do you hear from Indigenous? Do you people who come up to you and say thank you or point to you?
I have a lot more recently since we have joined forces with Métis Federation, and it's truly amazing to see that and to feel that love and that support. I have had a father reach out to me, and his daughter had said, "Oh, Dad, how come I don't see any Indigenous or anyone out on the ice that curls?" And he looked at her and said, "Actually, Kerri Einarson is." And she was just in awe, and it was a touching story for him to share with me, and I'm glad that I can be a role model.
It seems like in a bigger way too, we are seeing more focus on that. I think of the Olympic trials where the Saskatoon Tribal Council awarded those blankets to the winners. I think of even the uniforms that you wore at World Championships that have some Indigenous art tied into the design of them. So it certainly seems like everybody's trying to work this together. Do you get that sense as well?
Yes, I do. And that blanket is absolutely beautiful. Actually, my girls use it every single day. They sleep with it, so they have to take turns, obviously. But they love it, and it's such a nice gift that we got. And even to have the artwork on our jerseys, it was an honor to be able to wear that. So yeah, so we're moving in the right direction.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spotlight one more time here. And this isn't necessarily just about Indigenous. This is about anybody who's disadvantaged or discriminated against or whatever. Do you think that curling can really help build that in its own sort of small way? And what kind of things do you think curling needs to do that?
I think so. I think curling can. I know. Like like I said, we're going into the right direction, and we're trying to come up with ideas. I don't know exactly, but like even those traditions that for Indigenous that they do at the like in Saskatoon, and like things like that are huge, and that show their traditions. And I know this fall I went to a assembly for the Métis Federation, and I spoke in front of hundreds of Métis citizens, and wow, it was an absolute honor. So they just felt I didn't hear a peep. Like it was just they were listening to me, and I felt so lucky to be able to do that and tell my story too. So yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction.
Curling's a powerful sport, and you have a big microphone to talk to people. It sounds like. So thank you for that, and thank you for your continued attention to this.
Yes, and thank you so much. I know I'm a Métis woman. I've achieved a lot of my goals, and if you have the drive to be able to do it and the passion for the game, you can.
All right, when Curling Day in Canada continues, an incredible story of a high school student in Winnipeg who are using curling as a sense of relief for Ukrainian refugees. And John Candy helped the Jamaican bobsled team become famous. Bob will introduce you to a curling comparable next.
And what a day it's been. I suspect that the folks here who first curled in Banff way back in 1888 back on the Bow River never thought they'd see a day like today, but it has been a really fun and enjoyable day here today as we have the first ever Curling Day in Canada festival. All sorts of activities going along as we try to celebrate the great roaring game. And Lindsay, as we celebrate in this country, we also want to continue to celebrate Canadians who are making a huge impact.
We sure do, and we would like to recognize Luke Robbins. Now, Luke is a high school student from Winnipeg who is heading up tutorial sessions for Ukrainian citizens who've been displaced due to the war in their homeland. With plenty more, here's John Liu.
It's been 1 year since Luke Robbins stepped off the ice after a Manitoba junior curling provincials match in Brandon and learned that Russia had invaded Ukraine. Shortly after refugees started arriving in Canada, Robbins began volunteering at the Ukrainian National Federation in Winnipeg. It was there that he came up with the idea of helping fellow Ukrainians through the sport he loves by offering some form of relief after the horrors they'd experienced.
I've definitely felt sort of a sense of pride for being a Ukrainian Canadian. There's people that are fleeing awful circumstances, and knowing that I'm here, that I can make a difference, gave me sort of a boosting and motivation to be the best person that I can be.
With Luke, it doesn't matter what he does, he's all in. And he's been a part of the Ukrainian community through dance and doing folklorama and all that. And so he's pretty passionate about the culture and the country itself. So no doubt he's 100% behind it and enthusiastic about it.
My heart dropped when I found out about it. I was a wreck from that night onwards. So it was really personal for me, knowing that I have friends that have come from Ukraine. My family has come from Ukraine. I've known how they've like dealt with atrocities in the past, and just knowing what others have gone through and knowing that what they're about to go through was just something that really sunk in with me that night. Just pretty much pushing with the other foot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
A lot of them have told me that it's not a very popular sport in Ukraine, but they've seen it on TV and how easy it looks on TV, and they're surprised how slippery the sliders are.
Keep this foot on the ground and you're just pushing with this other foot. Oh, there we go. Ace, it's going way better than I thought it was going to, which is great. Everybody's enjoying themselves. Our instructors are doing a great job, our translators are doing a great job, our volunteers upstairs are doing a great job as well.
Partial funding for these sessions has come from Curling Canada's inaugural All Heart Junior Curling Award. Robbins and his friend and teammate Logan Strand are 2 of only 8 Canadians to be honored for developing junior curling programs that promote diversity and inclusion. And already they're looking at transferring these sessions into next season in the hopes of introducing more junior curlers to the sport. Now let's send it back to Curling Day in Canada.
Well, it is a remarkable story for those Ukrainian curlers, and curling's popularity is growing around the globe, not only in Canada here, even in places where they don't have ice, if you can believe that. Let's say, for instance, Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria.
In a story that might draw parallels to the Jamaican bobsled team, it seems improbable that a winter sport such as curling could take off as it has done in Nigeria, a country where there are no ice rinks and the average temperature is 27 degrees. But thanks to the hard work of Daniel Demola, whose daughter tried the sport while at school in Germany and urged her father to bring it to Nigeria, curling has found a footprint in the African country. Since 2018, Nigeria has been a member of the World Curling Federation and has sent rinks to a number of international championships, starting with the 2018 mixed doubles.
After that, we started playing other games like the mixed double, the men team, now the female team, the junior teams, and so on. So we start progressing as, we get more bigger and bigger each day. So that's how we, start getting people in. And interestingly, we have to, infuse now the natives, the homegrown athletes from Nigeria, both the youth side and the adult side, and the sport is spreading like a wildfire in Nigeria and by extension, Africa as a whole.
Without ice, most of the training is done utilizing dry curling. But even with that limitation, when it does head around the world to play on ice, Nigeria has produced some inspiring results, such as at this year's World Mixed Championships.
Amazingly, we beat Chinese Taipei the last time, and then our ranking came up as well in the mixed. And also the fantastic game we played in PACC in Canada, we had some amazing results as well.
In the recent World Junior Championship B division in Finland, Nigeria also earned spots in next year's Winter Youth Olympic Games. Not bad, considering it was their first time playing on ice. Results like these are growing the game in the African nation, and if enthusiasm is any indication, expect a lot more to come.
You can say that again, we are just getting started.
All right, well, like the Nigerian team, when they practice on all sorts of different surfaces, we have some street curling going on here as part of the Curling Day in Canada Festival, and I hear Solomon he's giving it a try with a very special guest.
I'm with Ben Hebert, Olympic medalist, but we've got a little different challenge for you. Have you ever done street curling? Curling with rocks, but not on ice.
Shuffleboard.
Okay.
Pocono.
Oh, okay.
But this is new for me, just the regular street curling. But I think I got enough tools in the bag to take you down in the draw to button.
You think you're going to take me down, hey, Ben? You're feeling pretty confident for an Olympian?
I actually don't think I'm that good. I just know I'm better than you.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, you know what?
Wager?
Let's do it, Ben. What are you thinking?
Beer across the street. Tavern after this would be nice. It's a little chilly out here.
It is a little bit chilly. How about this? if I win, those boots of yours look fantastic. They are red, they are Canadian. I want them.
Can we get a shot of those? I'm just gonna let you know. I'll play for them because I do have faith, but you can't buy those. You gotta earn those suckers, okay?
I'll earn it right now.
Let's get it on. Okay, you're up. You go first. I gotta see. I need more.
You gotta see my form, hey?
I'm playing for my boots.
All right.
Just watch them, okay, guys? Oh!
Hey. Tough act to follow. All right. It's on. You want to see something?
Get in there.
Oh.
Oh, now I got you lined up to the button.
I think I might be.
Who's this guy? Yeah, I'm already line one, but I gotta get one. Oh, there it is. There it is.
You know what?
I knew it. I'm not that bad. I am a lead, but
You're gonna get a beverage or two. You earned it.
A couple pints in Banff. Come check us out here at Curling Day in Canada. We're having a great time here.
Hey, Salim Balji, not too shabby. He's got some skills. So do Canadians across our great country. Curlers are joining in on the celebration today. They're posting their Curling Day in Canada experiences on social media. That was a terrific mug there. And look at this backyard rink. Once again, they're using the hashtag Curling Day in Canada. Even the babies are getting involved. We'll be sharing your pictures throughout the hour. Start 'em young.
All right, Lindsay, this might be my favorite time of the show. This is when we get to show off the Curling Day in Canada merchandise. Now, normally I would show you my sweatshirt, but I am not taking off any clothing here because it's pretty cold, so I'm showing you my mug, but I'm sure you could show me some more.
I can. Bob, you're not showing off the shirts? Come on, get rid of that parka. I know you have a warmer underneath your shirt. And yes, we are showing off some fantastic gear like this beautiful hoodie. 100% of proceeds support youth curling programs across our great country, and you can buy your own. Go to curlingdayincanada.ca to buy your own terrific gear like the sweater or the mug Bob was showing. It all supports a great cause. All right, still plenty more action coming your way, including Vic Rauter.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And we've asked who can do the best Vic impression. We've got some great ones.
Count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make the final.
This country needs TSN's Vic Rauter on the call.
We say hello, Canada.
Otherwise, it's like a sandwich without the tangy zip of Miracle Whip.
Make the final. Make the final. Make the final. Try make the final.
Make the final. Make the final. Make the final.
Hang on. Uh-oh. Don't want to kill your own. Oh! Oh, come on. Come on. Oh, goodness. Unbelievable. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Prince Edward Island and its handshakes.
Well, I got to tell you, if you are a curler, you know Vic Rauter, you know what he likes to say, you know the words he's done it. You've always said, somewhere along your game, you said, make the final, or oh my. Everybody has a great Vic moment.
They sure do, Bob. I have to ask, do you have a Vic impression? Let's hear it.
Oh my goodness, make the final. How'd I do? Hey, how about you? I want to see yours now, Liz.
That's a
Come
solid
on,
9
let's
out of 10,
hear yours.
Bob. All right, okay, ready? Make the final. No, I have to drop my voice even lower. One more time. Okay. Make the final. Not bad?
Pretty good. I like it. I like it. Yeah.
It could use a little bit of work. Okay. Well, Curling Canada asked fans to do their best Vic impersonations. But first, here's some more from our colleagues at TSN. Take a listen.
As we say hello, Canada, the final stone. A draw for the win.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. Yes.
Count them up.
Count them.
Count them. Count them up.
1, 2,
3, 4.
Make the final. Canada beats Norway.
Looking a little light. Gotta have the button. Need the button to be the Brier champion. Sweeping. Curling. Is it enough?
Count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make
the final. Make the final. Make the final.
Make the final.
Make the final.
1, 2, 3, 4. Make the final.
I gotta give the win to Rod Smith or maybe James Duthie. They went a little bit beyond the normal, and it was like they were calling the final end there. Some pretty good impressions. We've got to give our staff some credit there.
That was impressive. I have to agree with you. I'm going Rod Smith #1. I would put Gino as #2, and then Jay Onright, my sneaky 3rd place. He really gave it his all. But our friends at Curling Canada also asked some curlers and fans at the Scotties to give their best Vic Rauter impressions. Take a listen to these.
Oh my, oh my.
Count them up.
Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make the final. Make the final.
Russ, what would you do here?
Russ, what do you think about this shot? Count them up. 1, 2, 3.
Count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Make the final.
Oromato.
That was a good one.
Count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Newfoundland and Labrador.
Count them up.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3. Make the final.
Make the final.
Make the finals.
Those are very good. The Anna Green Gables ones were my favorite, but Rick Lang deserves a little bit of a credit too. He's had probably been in there for more of Vic's calls than anybody else in that little vignette.
Extremely impressive, but I have to say, Vic better keep a close eye. Someone's going to take over his job. Those kids really had the call down. They nailed it. Very impressive. Well, as we continue on with the broadcast, Curling Day in Canada truly is for everyone, and individuals from Rocky Mountain Adaptive are taking part in street curling at the festival today. Rocky Mountain Adaptive is a charitable organization that creates and provides accessible adventures for individuals living with physical and neurodivergent challenges. Terrific initiative, and we've got plenty more from Banff coming up. Welcome back to the show as a beautiful afternoon continues at the Curling Day in Canada Festival in Banff, Alberta. And with plenty more, let's head back to Salim Valji at the Banff Community High School playing a different version of curling.
A lot of people growing up played crokinole with their families. It's a really easy and fun game. And here in the heart of Banff, we have Croca Curl, combining two great Canadian pastimes. The field of play is behind me. The object is simply to get rocks into the middle of the board. It's been a blast. There are families here. It's gotten a little bit competitive as people take it in. It's a wonderful experience. And unlike the board game version of crokinole, Croca Curl is a little bit easier on your fingernails.
Well, wheelchair curling was introduced as a Paralympic medal sport in 2006, and Canada won the first 3 gold medals. Mixed doubles will be added to the program for the 2026 Paralympics, which will be taking place in Milan. And recently, 2 of Canada's best curlers are doing their best to make sure that the sport continues to grow.
They are 2 of Canada's most decorated curlers, Mark Idison and Ina Forrest, world champions, Paralympic champions, and vocal champions for their sport, who at first had some hesitation about getting onto the ice.
I'd originally said no to curling because I'd sort of made a promise to myself I didn't want to play any sports I had played able-bodied because I didn't want to compare my old abilities to my new ones. But eventually I said yes and threw a few stones and was happy to know that I could actually get the rock down the length of the ice, because that was the first challenge. But after that it was, fell in love.
I was invited to come to try out, try a curling day, and just as meeting somebody who was a real avid wheelchair curler. So it was just sort of word of mouth that something was happening and you could just show up and try.
From those humble beginnings, the 2 have gone on to become fixtures on Canada's national team. But when they aren't chasing world titles, they continue with their club curling, which for Idison was a gateway to bigger things.
Wheelchair curling really integrates well with able-bodied curling. Any wheelchair curler can just join an able-bodied league, and other than the sweeping part, you can fit right in. in any league, and so I joined, you know, the wheelchair curlers first, and then, you know, joined a league, and, you know, just got used to being on the ice and throwing rocks.
In spite of being one of the game's most decorated curlers, Forrest encourages others to follow her onto the ice.
It's a fun sport and you can get into it very easily. Like, there's not a lot of equipment to it, and going into a club, I've always found our club is very, very welcoming, and people are so open to helping you. And there's a lot of translation between the able-bodied game and the wheelchair game. So even if you don't have anyone that knows a whole lot about the wheelchair game, you can learn from them regardless.
And once you get out on the ice, you'll learn why curling is the friendliest of sports.
Curlers are just such great people and so welcoming. You know, I kind of feel like Norm on Cheers when I roll into the curling club. It's like, hey, Mark, you know, like, welcome, come on out onto the ice, and, you know, they what can we do, you know, how can we help?
Well, Mark and Ina are getting ready for the World Championships, which are going to be taking place starting March 4th in Richmond, BC. Ina will be playing in her 13th Worlds and looking for her 4th World Championship title. Mark, his 2nd. They'll also be joined by John Thurston, Gil Dash, and Marie Wright, and there will also be a mixed doubles competition with Canada represented by Kalinda Joseph and Dennis Thiessen. I urge you to follow them along and send them your cheers, and let's see if we can get them another World Championship. All right, still more to come here from Curling Day in Canada. Lots of action here. Look at these kids giving it a try. Everybody loves curling. We'll have more of it coming up right after the break.
Welcome back. As our broadcast comes to an end, we want to remind you to go to curlingdayincanada.ca to vote for your favorite story. As we mentioned earlier, you have until 11:59 Eastern tonight to vote. Plus, there's other terrific ways to get involved, including for the Love of Curling sweepstakes. Each and every ticket purchased will support youth curling. We're also giving you the chance to win a championship weekend package to the Season of Champions event of your choice. And curling clubs across the country, do not miss your chance to join Canada's Big Shootout for an opportunity to win a $5,000 grant for your facility. All the details are available at curlingdayincanada.ca. And of course, we want to give a shout out to the Otterburn Legion Memorial Curling Club. They were last year's $5,000 grant winner. Combined with other money they raised, they did some incredible renovations. Those look terrific. Congratulations. And as we put a bow on what has been a terrific curling day in Canada, Bob, can you give me a drum roll as I say this? Love it. Okay. It is time for us to announce that Melfort, Saskatchewan will host the festival in 2024. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Melfort. Before we go, I also want to give a quick shout out to a guy who was responsible for basically creating Curling Day in Canada. This is our 5th edition of it. Danny Lamoureux from Curling Canada, and he is going to retire very shortly. And there's nobody, I don't think, in Canada in the last 5, 10, 15 years who has done more for club curling than Danny. We wish you all the best.
We sure do. And on that note, it wraps up yet another Curling Day in Canada. Bob, as always, an absolute pleasure. I know we've both been involved since day one, and what a treat it has been to see the growth of the game continue. To everyone in Banff and everyone holding down the fort in Toronto, thank you for joining another Curling Day in Canada. As young and old from coast to host get involved in our great game. A reminder, Scotties coverage continues at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm Lindsay Hamilton. Happy Curling Day in Canada.